Right. Yeah. I just wanted to go to back to Ken's point real quick on the housing element and stuff. And I agree. Like if it is an onerous burden, right, that we're expected to build 8,000 new units, like why can't we just work towards that, right? Like we can't. Maybe we won't meet the 8,000, but like as you said, the Elan complex, right? Like I drive past that all the time. Yeah. Why don't we have more of that mixed zoning going on? Because we have so many like of those single story strip malls all over the town.
It's a fair point. I mean, we talked about with the state too of coming up with a more reasonable housing element. Just because we're fighting the current onerous one doesn't mean like we don't want to build housing, and we have, right? I mean, Tank Farms, I'm from here, I understand that I changed my mind on that, but those are single family homes, people invest in our community. So I think the path is to, and we're actually trying to meet, we've tried to meet with the state. I think now it sounds like there's potential to even meet with them hopefully soon, but it's to come up with maybe our own housing element that we can actually be successful in implementing based on our limited land available, based on our resources. So, on Tuesday on that strategic plan, like we showed, like our affordable housing, like stock and supply puts us right at where we are in terms of in our county size. But again, to your point, I mean, it doesn't mean we're not, looking at projects to deliver affordable housing. The Brandywine up on Gothard and Edinger, right, on the northwest corner. Those are all now nice product, kind of townhomes for sale product. And so there are housing projects going on in the city. Yeah, well,
but like that's my concern though, is that like, I mean, obviously the old Brethren Christian site, right? Like that was all luxury homes. Like I got a buddy who lives right over there, and that could have easily been, an affordable housing project mixed in with other housing units. And like I think the concern that a lot of us have is that you say, yes, we could do this, but then when we see what's getting built, it tends to favor more of the luxury / upper end housing. And just from a perspective of like a parent, right? Like my older kid's 17, gonna go off to college, would love for them to be able to come back here and get like a condo or like, a small apartment, something like that. There is absolutely no way my kid's going to be able to afford to live in this city, right?
And like with Brandywine, that's another one where, that was a project that was, all these projects are before us except for Tank Farms, but with Brandywine, they're actually like allocating, I think it's like 10% to like
13 units. They had 133 units, and 13 are set aside for low and middle income housing.
But also local, right, too?
Yeah, they said to us, I was on the planning commission at the time, that they are pricing them and going to make them available to like teachers, local teachers. They're pricing them that way. Local teachers, fire, public safety, police.
And that's one thing we've talked with City Attorney Vigliotto about, like any future projects that come forward, and there's obviously the affordable component. Can we require them to allocate those units first to local HB residents, just like our navigation center. To go there, you have to have ties to HB, so the same kind of principle. Like he thinks it's legal, but that's something that we're definitely looking at.
Right, like I want to know if the city's making it a priority for us as residents, and then especially for our older residents too, right? Like if they want to downsize into a smaller unit, like they can't afford to live here.
For sure, and that's it's another piece that like we're working on right now with a friend of mine to kind of have like a pathways in the community. So, we want to look at creating internships that get school credit with the universities and create, whether it's in media or welding or automotive, and work with Golden West College. So have these internships that the high school kids can get credit for, and with the goal of like to keep them here, right? To give them skills, to keep them in Huntington Beach. And instead of saying, oh, there's no industry here, so we got to leave and go somewhere else. And to your point, can't afford homes. Like that's our focus, is we want to be able to keep our residents here. And so, that's definitely one of the topics.
Okay, so if the lawsuit fails, right, the Supreme Court appeal, if that fails, will the city be committed to then working towards that housing element?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of it. Like we'll abide by whatever the adjudication is, but again, like our main goal is to protect the city, and then whatever happens on the final adjudication, we'll deal with it then. But again, we can do two things at once. Like we can fight this fight to protect local control, and also work with projects that do come before us in the meantime, work to, if there's an affordability covenant, work to say, hey, we want you to allocate a certain number of these units to, residents that have HB ties.
Well, I don't even necessarily mean that like we have to allocate it to HB people. Yeah. I just like the stock needs to go up. We just need more units.
But also like I know you know this, but the public sector doesn't develop, but the private sector does. So they come in with projects, right? And you're kind of limited on how you can push back, and you know what you can't demand what they do necessarily. So you know, as projects come through, that's you try to encourage them to deliver that.
Would the city be interested in working with the state on public sector projects?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think with like the navigation center site. I mean, we you know, Jamboree was going forward on that project with like grant funding to convert the navigation center to we call it the Pathways project. So it has some permanent supportive housing in there with the nav center. So yeah, I mean, we're always willing to work with the state. I've actually requested to meet with Rob Bonta recently, and we're hopeful we can do that. And I've always said, like, we want to meet with the state because, in my opinion, as a real estate developer, this heavy-handed approach of a one-size-fits-all for the housing crisis is not realistic. And when I asked what the housing crisis is, it was like, well, it's an affordability crisis. I said, I understand, but California, I develop across the country commercial retail like shopping centers. California is 50% more expensive to build in. It's because of overburdensome government regulation. So I'm hopeful we can all get together and really find the root cause of this affordability crisis and try to fix it. And then also encourage development in undeveloped areas, right? I mean, we live in Huntington Beach on the Pacific Ocean. There's some of the most valuable real estate in the world, so it's very tough to deliver affordable housing projects unless it's subsidized by the government. By, you know, Jamboree Housing, I'm sure you guys saw that, you know, a few weeks ago. That's tax-free financing, right? Lower interest rates, but also they don't pay property tax, so they have to have what's called a TEFRA hearing from the city. And so now we're not going to get property tax on that project, and that's the only way it pencils or makes sense financially, because they're not having to pay property tax, so then they can actually deliver a product that's affordable. So, look, there's a lot of tools in the toolbox. We look at all of them, but our main focus is to protect the residents in the city, and we're not anti-development, we're just for responsible development.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And then hopefully, if I get elected to state assembly, I would love to work with Huntington Beach to do that. So, thank you.
Chris.